It's good to be back. In a few minutes, I'd like to start this conference off with a traditional prayer. You know, the world we live in is pretty dysfunctional. You know, things aren't good in lots of places. You know, human beings are creatures of many faults and shortcomings. So whenever we think about things like drug addiction and whatever the class of people you might be in this country, it's going to hit your family at some point, I think. So it's good to think about it. Before I get into that, though, I just want to tell you something about the territory. We have the greatest quality of pine wood of any place on the planet here in Algonquin Territory. People who know wood will tell you that. You know, there might be places where pine trees will grow bigger and older, but as far as the quality of the wood goes, you can't beat Algonquin Territory pine. And we know whenever we think about trees and the connection to carpentry and one of a major trade in this country, building trades. I worked with as a bricklayer. I started bricklaying when I was 17 years old. That was in 1967, you know, during Centennial year. I grew up, I was born in Kittigon-Zibi on an Algonquin community, but my family left the community in 1956, and we moved to a mining town where we were the only indigenous people in the town. Everybody knew that we were fresh off of a reserve. And some people told us to go back where we came from, even though we were living where Algonquins had been living for many, many thousands of years, and some people told us to go back where we came from. But I went into bricklaying when I was 17 years old, and there was racism, of course. Some people, I don't know what their problem was, but to me it was as if they didn't want anything to do with giving an indigenous young man a trade. And lucky for me, though, there was two bricklayers of Irish ancestry named Bob Keown and Tommy Coughlin, and they were really good bricklayers. Like, they were very respected in the trade, and they really respected the union. And they took me under their wing, and I'll just tell you about an experience we had, because whenever I met Bob and Tom, they would say to me, never let the day come where somebody will fire you for not doing it right. They might fire you for not doing enough, but don't let them fire you for not doing it right. And they put everything into training me and teaching me to be a good bricklayer and stonemason. And one day we were working for a company in Ottawa, and at the time I was been in the trade about 2.5 years. And the foreman came, and I guess I wasn't doing enough, because he fired me. He told me that the company didn't want me working for them anymore. So Bob and Tom and I were traveling together. I was just a young lad, you know, and I didn't have a vehicle at the time. So I went to them, because we were working the same job site, and I told them, I said, I'll see you guys at the car at 4 o'clock. And they said, where are you going? I said, well, I just got fired. And Bob and Tom walked off the job with me. You know, to me, that was an action that I will remember for the rest of my life. How these bricklayers who had faith in a young indigenous bricklayer, an apprentice, to defend his right to have a trade and to support me like that, because they walked off the job with me. We went over to the union agent's office, and they took a strip off his back for allowing us to, for me being in a job site where a foreman would fire an apprentice. So I worked at the trade for over 40 years. I did have a bad accident. I celebrated 32 years of that accident on April the 25th. And I crushed 2 vertebrae in my back, and I cracked 2 vertebrae, and I cracked my spine above and below the damaged vertebrae because I fell 43 feet. I had stainless steel nuts and bolts holding my spine together for over 2 years, and I had to wear a body brace for 18 months. So I live with chronic pain, but you'll never hear me complain about it because I consider myself to be lucky, because I could have been killed and I could be paralyzed. And I'm still here. I've got my daughters and my grandchildren, which I love dearly, and I'm there to help them, guide them and counsel them and celebrate birthdays and that kind of stuff with them. So I'm fortunate, and I won't complain about the physical pain. And I've been around long enough to know that physical pain is what it is, and emotional pain is what it is, and I'd rather have a sore back than a broken heart. That's just the way I see it, because that's the common sense way of seeing it, for me anyway. So I'm just going to offer this prayer. I hope you don't mind that I share this prayer. This prayer has been in this country for, I was told, for thousands of years. It's from Tamagami First Nations. It's from an elder named Bill Twain, who was a Second World War veteran, and he lived with chronic pain too, because he had shrapnel in his bones from being wounded in the front lines during the Second World War. And I went without food and water for 4 days and 4 nights so that I could share this prayer at times like this. And I've incorporated some Algonquin perspectives to it, and this is it. So I want to say to the Good Spirit Minu Manado how grateful we are for everything that Creator placed in our homelands that help human beings to live well. We acknowledge and honor every tree, river, lake, and stream. We acknowledge and honor every bird, animal, fish, and all the good human beings. We're grateful for all those things in the sky world and all those things that live beneath the surface of the earth. We're grateful too for the bees and all the other insects that help the plants to grow. We're grateful for our medicines and for our ceremonies. We're grateful for our ability to prepare ourselves spiritually for that spirit world that will begin when this short physical life ends. We're grateful for our ability to bring peace and comfort to one another during times of troubles and in times of anguish. We ask you now, Good Spirit, to fill this space with your blessings and to touch each of us with the wisdom of our Anishinaabe ancestors. We ask if there's anyone who's listening to this prayer who has a relative or a friend who's suffering somehow, whether from depression or addiction things or some kind of physical sickness, we ask that that relative or friend will have a good day today and that they will return soon to the family as a role model and as a mentor. We ask these things of you, Good Spirit, because of the great respect we have for everything that Creator has made. Me Gwetch, I know you're going to have a good meeting. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. We now have a talented group of powwow drummers and dancers from Indigenous experiences that have shared their traditions and talents with millions of visitors from around the world. Join me in welcoming Indigenous experiences.
Hello, everyone. Kwekakina. How are we this evening?
Good.
We're a little tired from our meetings. No, I'm just kidding. So before we start, I'm going to introduce myself in my language, and then I'll translate for you guys. So kwe kakina, sigwan wabagan adishnakaz, kirigan zibi donjaba, megazedo dema nishnabe aki. Hello everyone, my English name is Rihanna. My real name or my traditional name is Sigwan Wabagun, which turns out to be spring flower, so I'm very much in season at this very moment. I'm from Kirigan-Zigabi, Algonquin First Nation, about an hour and a half north of here, and I am part of the Eagle Clan. So thank you so much for having us here. I'd first like, before we begin, to acknowledge Albert Dumont and his opening remarks. Miigwech, Albert. Secondly, I'd like to acknowledge the drum here today with us, who is going to help us showcase a few different styles of dance. Eagle River from Barriere Lake and from Kirigan-Zibi, Algonquin First Nations. Can we give them a round of applause? It's so important when we do gatherings or that when we come together, we acknowledge the protocol of the original people of the territory. So we acknowledge that you have reached out and done the proper protocols, so miigwech for that. We're very much in a time of season and a time of change, and we'd like to acknowledge that before we start any new day or any business meeting or any kind of conference. So to acknowledge those seasons is very important, as we just had our full moon for the flower moon. With that being said, I won't speak too much longer. I'll let some of the dancing speak for itself. But this first style of dance that we have prepared for you guys is the men's grass dance. And this style of dance was done, they were the first ones. Whenever a prairie village was relocated, it would be the grass dancers that would come out first, and they would pat down that landing and letting the village know that it was safe to construct their homes. So today we have Randy Kekagamic from North Spirit Lake and Waswanipi First Nations dancing the men's grass. Let's give them a round of applause. So before each one of the dancers goes out, I will give you a little bit of an idea of where the dance comes from and why we do it. And it's important to know these teachings so that we recognize what the certain protocols for the certain dances are. This next style of dance is done by Maggie Downer from Tyendinaga Mohawk First Nation. And the story behind the women's traditional is it is the original style of dance for women. Often the dancers were very stationary and very much in one place. And so it's almost as if to say that she's brushing the mother's hair, our Mother Earth's hair, with her footwork. Let's give it up for Maggie. Let's give it up for Maggie. So one thing a lot of people don't know is that powwows are a celebration of music and dance. It is a time to come together so that we can share stories and spend some time together. With that being said, I also did want to mention that powwows are always open to non-Indigenous and Indigenous people alike to come and to partake and to see the beauty that is dancing. This next style of dance that we have prepared for you was done by our hunters, by our warriors. It is very much a storytelling dance. So after a great hunt or a great war party, the hunters would get together and tell a story of their mission. So today we have Awema Tendesi from Kinigan Zibi Algonquin First Nation dancing the men's traditional. Let's give it up one more time for Awema! Now, you guys are in for a real treat. This next style of dance that we have prepared for you guys is one of the oldest styles of dance. In fact, this precedes a time of powwow. It's one of our oldest styles of dance, and it actually had to go into hiding. At one point in the not-so-distant past, it was illegal for Indigenous people to practice their culture, speak their languages, to take part in dance and ceremony. So it was the bravery of a young boy who actually went into hiding and taught his family for generations this dance. So today, it is a modern style of dance, and the dancers use contemporary pieces and contemporary music. Today we were doing a traditional style. So the original hoops were dyed willow branches that were tied together in various colors. Today, with modern access to modern materials, we use modern materials. So today we have McKenna Guérin ranking from Abitibi-Winni First Nations dancing the hoop dance. You see, to let us know by clapping. can imagine being a drummer and holding the knowledge of so many different songs. Each style of dance has its own appropriate drum and song that is associated with it. So in order to do each song, the drummers have to pick which one they think is best fitting for that moment.
Yeah.
one more round of applause for all our dancers and drummers this evening. So unfortunately, this ends our time here with you guys this evening. On behalf of Indigenous Experiences, sur la part de l'expérience autochtone, je voulais juste dire un mot de remercie. I just wanted to say thank you, a big Gitchimigwech, for having us out here. In our language, there's no word for goodbye. It is so final and it is so definite. The word we use is Majoshin, which means I'll see you at another time. Majoshin, everybody.
Majoshin.